everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this special edition episode of the Meet Me for Coffee podcast. I am super excited about this one. Number one reason is I have two ladies on the screen with me today. Good morning, ladies. How are you guys doing?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for including me.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you as well. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, this just never happens. I am so used to having females just kind of sprinkled in and out and not very many. And then I get two of you guys in one day. So I love this power panel we have here to talk about some things today. But if you guys are not familiar with the special edition episodes of the Meet Me for Coffee podcast, they tend to be very educational focused. We're kind of trying to hone in and drill in on a certain aspect of something that I have found to be personally intriguing or insightful, but maybe not quite something that's going to be insightful to my entire audience on the regular edition episodes. And so this one is really going to be geared towards more of our broker listeners, which is a large portion of our listener base. But I wanted to have a couple of our industry experts on to talk more about how they are using TMS technology to create more efficient operations, which are evidenced in their both very successful businesses. I mean, these ladies are representing two companies who have a great reputation in our space, who have withstood a lot of market cycles and conditions and have experienced great growth. And so I love championing those types of brands and helping people learn a little bit from them. And I'm hoping that this platform will give them the opportunity to share some great insights with us today. And so I am going to go ahead and give them both a chance to introduce themselves and their companies. And then I just have, I have 4 questions today that I want to talk about that are going to get into some of the more kind of nitty gritty pieces of operational processes, but we're going to take it at a little bit of a high level so it's digestible today. So with that said, Kristy, I'm going to go to you first. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Absolutely. Kristy Knichel, CEO and President of Knichel Logistics. We are a third-party logistics provider in the transportation space, but our niche is shipping intermodal, but we also have full truckload in an LTL division as well that we're continuing to grow out. So excited to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristy. And Tami?
Hi, I'm Tami Gordy. I am the operations manager for the brokerage division of Flat World Global Solutions. We are a third-party logistics provider in the greater St. Louis area. We predominantly, the company focuses primarily on LTL shipments, but we also service, we have a large warehousing, international, and I represent the truckload brokerage, which has previously not been a focal point for the company. But over the last 3 to 4 years, we've really had an explosion in growth, and we've gone from 2 employees to 25 in a very, very short period of time. So,
exciting.
So it's been a really exciting time.
I love this because I have known about both of you ladies, I think, since I've been in the industry. Kristy and I just through LinkedIn very early in my career. And then Tami, as I was telling you, I used to do outside sales in St. Louis, specifically in the part of St. Louis where you guys are based. And so you guys have just been like a staple name in the industry for me since I started. So very excited to also myself get the opportunity to hear from both of you ladies and how you're leading and growing your businesses. So without any further ado there, I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of my first questions. I also want to say that this podcast is sponsored by TMS, and both of you ladies use TIE as a TMS within your operations. And so while we are going to be asking questions that are operational and that do include functions and parts of TIE, that is not the sole purpose of this. And we are also excited to hear about your guys' honest insights into parts of your business. So the first question that I have is, as we're getting into your operations, one of the most, I guess if we think about the step one when we're in the full truckload space or even the LTL or the intermodal space is receiving an order from your clients, from your existing clients. And how are you guys, I'm just going to leave this pretty open-ended. I want to hear what you guys have to say about the various ways this might be happening, but how are you currently receiving orders from your clients, and what role does your TMS or any other tools you might use play in the way that you guys are receiving orders from your clients? And let's go to Kristy first, so I don't have to make you guys figure that one out.
Thank you.
Awesome. So first I want to say we use TIE specifically for our LTL product currently. So we are receiving orders via email. We also receive them over the phone, believe it or not, still. And then also direct customer access. One thing that we're really working on is trying to get transactional customers to truly be booking their own freight and quoting it, because we're kind of trying to change the LTL focus into a more managed transportation business on that side. I think when we brought in our director of sales, he was just like, you do this much business on transactional and like all your people are doing it. There was very little customers that were actually doing their own. So that's something that we're trying to work on. And also one of the things I would say too is like the TMS also quickly allows us to record the data, assign different status depending on when the shipment is moving or if the information is needed to move to dispatching selection. So it also allows us to put the technology in the hands of our customers, which I just mentioned, that frees up our time. That way you don't have to have maybe as many people on the staff. And then it also gives the customer authority to control their own freight within the software. So that's something that we really love. I think the issue might be, though, is getting customers more accustomed to doing that. Because, again, I think that that's a huge thing where customers can truly have that control and look at what's going on. I just think sometimes those people in those roles just don't have the time, and maybe they're wearing multiple hats. But again, we're always looking at those ways to how we can get the information more electronic and also just more efficient.
Yeah. Wow, that definitely makes me think of my past, which I spent most of my career in brokerage, but also managed transportation and LTL, the LTL industry. So I can remember that well. And it seems to be one of those where the people who are transactional are usually maybe sometimes on a smaller scale, and they're doing 10 different things. Like that person might be the customer service manager who also now has to get freight quotes. And so there is like that, the benefit of wanting to just send it over to somebody else and have them do it. But then at the same time comes the emails, and the tracking isn't somewhere that they can easily access and all of that. So having like a very functional and simple to use platform definitely helps with that learning curve when you're trying to train a client to take over a process themselves. If it's like at all difficult or complex, they're like, I'm out. Like, I'm not, I can't do this. So, if you're already getting them to be like willing to try something new, it's very important that process is not stressful or complicated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just wanted to add too, it's one of those things where we feel if you have to touch an LTL shipment more than like once or twice, like you're possibly losing money just because you don't want to have that interaction constantly being touched.
Thank you for that, Kristy. I think that's like a very, that's something that a lot of brokerages probably do need to hear is like at some point, I think LTL specifically gets looked at as like an add-on where it's like, oh, let's add this to our suite of solutions to make some more money. But then in my opinion, LTL has a lot more complexities to it than your full truckload freight. So if that's your core competency, or even intermodal maybe, then, and you start getting into that and you're having lots of issues, like the margins are not large on these small $300, $400 shipment orders, right? And so it's very difficult to maybe look at that through the lens of like, is this worth having and operating in my business? Are we doing it the right way? And so I think that's an excellent call out to be conscious of the time that you're putting into those shipments. Yes. Tami, I'll direct that question to you, just asking, how are you currently receiving orders from clients, and how does your TMS play a role in that?
First of all, Kristy, I loved everything you said. Ditto. We are, like I said previously, Flat World Global Solutions was founded as an LTL company. So we have a proprietary software system that we're currently using, which works brilliantly. It's super efficient and all that. But that system was not meant for truckloads. So I'm going to put that note out there before I continue on here. So we have a really interesting blend of customers some of our customers who prefer to have that partnership, forehead to forehead mentality, where we are an extension of them to manage their logistics, similar to what you were talking about, how, they want to just give it to somebody to handle and then not have to worry about it again. And that's one of the partnerships that we really enjoy having here in the OTR division. We also have customers who I'm seeing a trend now of moving out of that emailed phone call, personal conversation, and wanting to move into a technologically based interaction for time, because I think what you said is really important about how a lot of people are wearing multiple hats and they don't have time. Sadly, they don't have as much time for that interpersonal communication. And also I think it's just a natural flow as, as we continue to grow in the industry. Technology is a huge player for making sure that we stay successful, compliant in a lot of ways. There's a lot of different ways that technology is going to continue to move us in towards that direction. Part of me feels a little sad about that, because I do love the interpersonal communications with my customers. But I also understand that with the next generations coming up who are really interested more in, fast, efficient, don't talk to me, let's get this done, which I appreciate too. It's just going to be a natural occurrence, I think. And the TMS systems, one of the things that I enjoy about Ty, it's interesting that you contacted me whenever you did, because I'm in the process of integrating all of I'm in the process of activating all of the available options that Ty has into our current operation and testing and seeing. And so one of the things that we're doing is the email usage and being able to crawl the emails to build loads, to automate, to send out notifications across the board. So we're in the first phase of that. Stay tuned.
Yeah. No, I love that. So a couple of things there that I love that you said. One, it seems like there's just two different types of people, right? Where it's like, I want to just send this to you and you get back to me when you get back to me. And there's the people who are like, I'm so busy that I want to be able to just plug this in myself and get my answer, immediately or shortly or however. And it kind of makes me think about like when I call customer service for almost literally anything. If I'm having to call a company's customer service line and I get like the dial tree and it wants to run me through all the, like, they're trying to build, like, they want all the information up front. Like, what's your order number? What's your zip code? What's your email? And I'm like, I get it. It's so you can find my order so that you're more helpful when you get on the phone, but someone just pick up the phone. So it's like that double-edged sword, right? But you're going to have people who are like, oh, this is great. I can put this information in like the chat bot on line and then wait for a call back. Or you have the people who are like, oh, I'm going to call and I expect you to answer. So that's, I think, perfectly describes the role of the brokers in this industry, right? Like we have to be able to suit the needs of our shipper clients and meet them where they're at and adjust where they're at. And then I like the last piece there that you mentioned, automation, and that's becoming a really big word in the brokerage space lately, is making sure that we are taking advantage of every opportunity to at least probably give our due diligence to evaluate automation where it fits. And it sounds like you're in a testing phase too, to see, does this work for our clients? Does it work for our business? And can we be more efficient through the use of our technology to help automate tasks that we think should be?
Sorry, didn't mean to.
Go ahead.
That's the biggest part right there. Is my concern for my team is that we are so bogged down doing manual tasks in certain parts of the division, obviously. For like the example, I don't want to jump ahead, but for the tracking division, particularly, is where I'm ultimately focused on right now. There's so many different tasks that they are doing that I don't feel like they're having an opportunity to step back fully and view the operation to see how we can improve, our processes, because they're just so task heavy right now. So,
and I love that conversation for brokers, because if we, common misconception that we're all sitting around on 30% margins, but when we have these slim margins, right? Like every little piece of your efficiency matters, because it's going into those fixed costs. Like what a person can accomplish in their day goes into that fixed cost. Also, employee satisfaction, like that's a big part too, right? Turnover, like people don't want to do a million track and trace things. They understand it's a necessity and they want to serve their clients, so they're going to do those things to make them happy. But I feel like it's kind of our job as leaders to be constantly evaluating what we can do to improve their quality. And then, of course, if we can do both of those things, improve how we operate and our people are happier, of course, our customers are going to be happier and we're going to be able to improve their experience. So I love that little circle. I personally am very excited about automation. So maybe I didn't put that in any of my questions specifically, but I'm glad it got brought up, because I'm like, I've been in brokerage and just like, I've only been in the space for 6 years now, I think. But 6 years ago, you did not have the options that you have right now. And so it's mind blowing to me how quickly and how fast we've come already.
So I've been in logistics a little over 20 years. So I'm from the Big Chief tablet #2 pencil, Sharpie fax, give me your cab card days.
Okay, I remember when someone told me DAT was dial a truck and like explained that you had to like post things on truck stop like bulletin boards and like and I was like, wow, like I I love that was not that long ago actually. Like we've really come a long way.
Right.
So
can I add too? I've been in the industry 26 years, and tracking intermodal, we would have to put the container numbers in the phone every single load and then type it in the system and move on to the next one. And it's just amazing.
See, we get a lot of flack in this industry for like not progressing and not staying current. And I'm like, they really don't know how far we've already made it.
Yeah.
Right.
Kristy, prior, not to segue off too far, but prior to my current position, I've never worked in a 3PL logistics provider environment prior to the 7 years I've been at Flat World. Before that, I worked in agricultural logistics. And so we had the big manuals for the rail lines. We had to do the Rule 11. So you had to go look at the origin and destination and whatever the over city is and figure out all of that stuff with these big freaking thick
books.
Yeah.
We've come a long way.
It has come a long way. I will say there's definitely more to come, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Just so manual thinking about that back in the day and where we are today. It's just so amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, my second question. So we talked about kind of how we're communicating with our clients and how we're receiving those orders. And then my second question is around how you guys are quoting the shipments for things that need to have rate quotes provided, which is most anymore in this industry, unless we're running obviously contract freight. So we're talking more, this would be on like the transactional side of your business that's requiring a quote each time. How are you quoting those, both your current clients or maybe prospective clients? And then how does that process interact with any technology that you might currently have? And I will go to Tami first.
Okay. The technology really goes hand in hand right now with where we are with our quoting process. And I'll just dive right back into to Ty for a second. Ty has this platform called Truckload Quoting, and it is integrated with DAT. So and we also use Parade for our dispatching software part to help to assist with dispatching. So in the truckload quoting module, I can see everything regarding a shipment that we've already moved, who's moved it based off of the carrier and how many times they've moved it, what our low, medium, and high average rates were, what DAT average is showing. I can also look at truck availability in Ty's truckload quoting platform that's pulling from DAT. So it's my one-stop shop that I am thrilled to be able to have now because
you don't have to go into like Parade and into DAT, right? It's like all right there within
correct.
Yeah.
And in the process of trying to, minimize the tasks and screen changes, which is really, we're trying to limit this is a very stressful
screen change
career.
fatigue is a very real thing.
Yes,
I get tired of that.
Yes, it is bad. It's awful. And I feel like as leaders, it's our responsibility to minimize the amount of times that our teams are being disrupted by just having to switch screens. So this is my one-stop shop. And it's been working wonderfully for the team. The quoting options, we've been very, very competitive in our quoting processes with our customer. It allows us to be faster quoting our customers. It also gives us a good visibility as to using the same carriers, because we're really working hard on being the friendliest broker in town as well to our carrier base, because we want them to come back and work for us every single time they see our name, they see a load, whatever. We want them to come back to us, and that helps us to use for repeat lanes as well for carriers.
Yeah. I love asking about how, like, you're answering a question about how you're working to improve your operations efficiencies. And then you like can't have that conversation without mentioning how it benefits your customers and your carrier partners, which is what I love about like when we look internally and we really start working like more on what we can do and what we can control and improve. There's always going to be like those ripple effects into the people that are interacting with us, right? It just 100%. Makes you easier to do business with and a stronger partner on both sides too, which is very important because we're brokers. We're balancing two customer bases all the time.
Right.
So Kristy, same question for you.
Yeah, so obviously we're getting information from our clients and prospective clients. And in the same token too, we have Shiplify data that I know the team is using. We also have negotiated contracts that are within the system, which is very helpful to be able to like bring that in. Like we have contracts with one company that we're utilizing, and we also are going direct with carriers. So one of the things I'll mention briefly is for us to even grow our LTL, we had to open a Blue Grace franchise back in 2015. They got rid of their franchises and then we were strategic partner, but we were able to get out of our contract this past year, literally in December, which is why we went with Ty. And I can't tell you how much easier and simplified the process has been in Ty for the whole team, as far as just the whole process and being able to just handle everything the way that we need to for our clients. Because talking about what Tami said about the customers and the experience wasn't great for customers in the other system, whether they were doing it or whether we were doing it, even from like reporting standpoint and bringing up some of the data that was done in the past and all that kind of thing. So Ty has just been, I want to say, a lifesaver to our operation and just for our customer growth, because I don't think we'd be able to continue to grow and do like the managed transportation that we're falling into now without having the tools that are in Ty to be able to do that for the team. So, the TMS, I mean, really streamlines the process, also by the numerous integrations that are available. And just to throw another thing out there, we actually had gone into McLeod for our truckload. And to be quite honest, everything we have to integrate over there, I mean, it's just been kind of challenging, where in Ty, it's already there and you don't even have to ask or think about it, to be quite honest. So that's another conversation we're having as a leadership team, to talk about improving processes, because right now as a company, we decided to use 3 different softwares. And I know that sounds crazy, but I wanted like the best intermodal, the best LTL, the best truckload. And then unfortunately, that also created some issues with none of the connectivity to get all the data out. So right now we're implementing a data warehouse for all of that. But I can tell you on the truckload side too, even though we're in a different system, we are looking at the capabilities in Ty and what it has there. Because there is just so much on that side, because I know what it's done on the LTL side, and it's just been tremendous for the team and the customers, and also the vendors, the carriers that we deal with too. And it's been awesome because we have the carriers that come into our office and meet with us, and the fact that we can control that now within the Ty environment and those relationships has been extremely helpful.
I love that. I like what you said there, and I thank you for your just transparency and your frankness. I think we sometimes tend to get on a podcast platform and want to like sugarcoat how we have all these things figured out and it's so streamlined and perfect and technologically advanced, and we're like no. And it's something I actually have said before is like, I don't believe that there is any like one TMS system that is like 100% ready to fit all of your wants and needs. Like that is never the case. And so I love where we have moved in the last few years with the idea of like embracing like an ecosystem model. Like if you can make it easy for people to bring in the things that they need to bring in to fit their unique business needs, and it's not like this big, ordeal or this full setup and we're sick of the EDIs and all of this stuff. Like if we're able to just say, hey, like this is what we need for our business. Like we use Parade, Tami, there's a quick and easy way to get that up and functioning. And I like that we've moved that direction, because I think that we have technology players in the space now, like Ty, and I know many others who are not trying to say like, we do everything for everyone. Like it's not that way anymore. And so I really appreciate that. And I appreciate brokers also like being willing, like you said, to try a few different systems for your different needs, because it also doesn't help when we try to like, put the, square peg in the circle hole. Like we don't want to try to do this anymore. Like we have options. Options are accessible. Like we're trying to flex to the needs of our customers and carriers and pick the right solutions.
And what I'd like to say too is we spent probably 2 years looking at systems. The unfortunate part is when we went into some of the other systems, it's almost like a year later, now there's even better. And there's, more efficiencies in some of these other systems than maybe what we picked. I mean, when it comes to intermodal, I'm just putting that aside because that's a whole nother beast. And I mean, in my opinion, there's really only one system that truly does it the way it does. But like when it comes to LTL and truckload, obviously, those to me is a simpler process. But at the end of the day, there's some systems that are just so bulky and have just so much problems and things you have to get through. But the other part is just the integration, to be quite honest. They might integrate, but I can tell you right now, sometimes the cost and then the time that it takes to get some of this integrated. So, I mean, just to put another shout out there to Ty, the fact that they have this in there and you don't even have to pay for that integration for some of the tools that are in there that we've had to pay in other systems. I mean, that's a game changer.
Yeah. Can I springboard off of something Kristy just said? She was talking about the ability for Ty to, and they can quickly respond to any kind of changes. They're such an evergreen, from my experience, they're so evergreen already that they're actively working to continue to improve their current platforms as well as offering new ones. So from where I'm at as a long-term, I'm committed. I'm in. Me and Ty, we're committed.
We're besties now.
Yeah, we're besties. We got this. I anticipate that if they don't have it now, then it's not never. It's just not yet. They haven't got it yet. So that's where I'm kind of hanging my hat on. They may not have this functionality that I may need now, but it's coming. I can just tell it's coming. And they're also willing to listen to their customers who say, "Hey, I need this." And
boom.
3 years ago, I don't think anybody would have said that about TMSs at all, because like we didn't have the competitive landscape that we all of a sudden have. And so like naturally, like competition drives innovation, right? And so we've seen that now where like you do have to constantly strive to be the best. There's not only 2 or 3 options anymore. I chose a TMS almost 2 years ago now, and I had like 20 different demos and I was overwhelmed. But I was like, I had 20 options, like without trying, without even really digging too deep.
Yeah.
And so it's a very competitive landscape now. And I think that the people who we see succeeding, like Ty in this space, they have grown a lot of market share. It's because they are staying ahead on that innovation piece, and they are listening to what people say they actually need. That's the other thing. Like, don't give me something cutesy or fun if it's not actually running my operations or making it better, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that's important, because I can tell you too, going through the demos, a lot of times they're like, oh, we can do this, we can do that. Then you find out once you get in the system, it doesn't do it. They're not there yet. And I can tell you, I mean, we're in a system that's great for intermodal, but like we're like 8 years waiting on some stuff that hasn't been done. And it's like, what's going on? And I know that, it's a smaller company and growing, but at the same token, we don't have time for that. It holds us back.
It should be illegal to create the demo versions that are like enhanced, like it's just cosmetic, you know what I mean? Like the demo platforms that they give you that like look like what you think you're getting. It's not. So we're going to move to question 3 because we have 2 more to get through. But the next one is, naturally, people are probably going to start catching on to us. But this one is actually sourcing the capacity or finding that coverage for those shipments. I know this is going to be a little bit different for both of you. Obviously, LTL being a little bit different when we're sourcing capacity versus full truckload. But how are you guys currently going about this? How does this process look like? And how does your TMS or any other pieces of technology also fit into this? And I'll go to Kristy first.
Yeah, so I know Ty has the available carriers that are integrated in the system, or we have our own tariffs that are in the system as well. So they will populate. Or we also can mass email carriers when needed, if possible. But the TMS helps by keeping the historical data. So when we have to repeat lanes or areas, it makes it easier to see who we used and what we paid in the past. And I think that's crucial, just to have that consistency, even just with the carrier or with the customer. Because I think it probably happens more in truckload than LTL, where, you pull the data and you find like you have one lane and they're booking like 10 different carriers and the price is all over the place. It's like, hey, what are you doing here? So in Ty, I think having that available for you right there in front of you, I think is so important. Yeah. And I know that that's really helped the team.
Yeah. I firmly believe that like data is king in all modes, but specifically in LTL. Like it's very difficult to help your clients drive down their rates when you don't have a good data to know exactly what have we been moving, how have we been moving it, who have we been moving with, and also like from a managed standpoint, I remember if we had the data from a TMS, we were able to take that to carriers and say, hey, look, like your competitors like are taking this from you, but my client prefers your service. Would you be willing to put a rate on, in a tariff or whatever that looks like? So it gives you guys and your clients a lot stronger of a position when you're talking with carriers. There's not a whole lot of carriers out there in the LTL space. I mean, even if we had 100, that like pales in comparison to the full truckload space. And so they kind of throw their weight around a little bit more. And so you have to have that data to be able to stand up against them, right? And to be able to have good conversations. So.
Yeah. And real quick too, we consider LTL similar to intermodal because you already have your network, right? Like when you said there's only so many carriers, it's the same thing in intermodal on the drayage side. And obviously with the railroads, there's only so many.
Right.
So it's kind of already built there for you. But on the truckload side, yeah, it's definitely a lot more fragmented.
Yeah. Tami?
So load coverage, I kind of touched on this a little bit, I feel like accidentally in my conversation about quoting, but it's right there in that truckload quoting screen. Whenever we have a shipment built in TIE, we've got multiple different options that we can use. Number one is TIE is integrated with Parade in our system, and Parade likewise blasts these shipments to a huge syndication of load boards that could go everything from the largest ones with DAT and truck stop down to the smaller ones as well. And we've seen success on all of those boards with coverage. We like to use the same carriers over and over again. If I find a good provider, I'm partial to the owner ops, the small guys. I like the littles. In my personal mission, I think that farmers and truck drivers are the hardest working people in this country, and that's the backbone of our economy.
Yeah.
And so I do everything I can to try to pay homage to them and keep them moving.
And Parade is a great tool for that without making it too operationally intensive for you guys to have all those hundreds of partnerships.
So you can, and I won't get into the specifics about how, but you can limit what's going where, what's being posted and where. And so, so we use a lot of technology for that on the brokers. And it also helps cut down the amount of time we spend on telephone calls because there's a lot more technological integration. People can just pick a load and they can automatically book it. And then because of the great technology that TIE has, if they utilize this function over here, it will come over and it will automatically tender a rate confirmation, and everything is done and everyone's happy and the load is covered. And
that's how we like it.
And that's how we like it.
Easy peasy. It's always like that 100% of the time. Don't ask. No, that's awesome. I love that. And I do have I've experienced with Parade. Several of my clients are using that or have explored that. And I love that functionality and those integrations with, it's almost like you forget it's there to an extent because it's just like so ingrained in your TMS within your system that you don't feel like you're constantly using two platforms.
Right.
So I love that. Okay. We did good on that one. We kept it a little bit shorter. Moving right along. I'm going to call this tracking. I think it was originally written down as track and trace. You guys can maybe fix this soapbox for me, but what is trace? I'm like, what are we tracing? We're tracking. So I hate saying track and trace because I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't know what we're tracing. So we're tracking. So when it comes to tracking, ladies, how do you have visibility on your shipments and provide tracking updates to your teams and to your clients? And then again, what role does your TMS fit into this or any other tools that you guys are using? And I don't remember. So it's Tami.
Well, I was going to say Kristy should probably take this one because tracing would be for rail cars. What I've always known it to be is if you're tracing, you're tracing rail cars, intermodal shipments, whatever like that. If you're tracking a driver. That was the differential that was made in my previous career. But Kristy, please correct me if I'm wrong here. So we're trying to implement more technology because we've been moving historically as a lot of phone calls, a lot of texts, or a lot of emails to dispatch and drivers. Obviously, we use MacroPoint and other different types of technologies to auto feed, which is also integrated through TIE and awesome and wonderful. but we're trying to move further and further away from the emails and the phone calls so that because we don't want to bother that driver when he's driving. We also don't want to bother that driver when he's sleeping, because drivers are angry when you wake them up.
Yeah, don't do that.
We don't like angry drivers.
I'm angry when I wake up in the
Yeah.
morning, let alone if you woke me up in the middle of the night.
Right. So we're trying to automate as much as possible. There's a couple of tools that we found that I didn't know about with Ty that I know about. So we're implementing that with the tracking supervisor, is getting with her team to, to streamline the process and change management effectively. So yeah, we use a lot of that. We're looking at automating more of the, with the system changes that Ty has available. You can set a workflow that automatically notifies the customer of certain things, or POD is uploaded, automatically goes to customer, those kinds of things.
Very cool. Kristy?
Yeah. And for just to answer your question real quick, Tami, on the intermodal side, it's interesting because we still call it track and trace, but you are right, Samantha, like why? It's just always been that way for whatever, but it is tracking every container specifically, but that gets dumped into our system, and that's a whole nother story. But going back to Ty and the LTL, most of the carriers that are in the system are connected via API, so tracking is completely automated. And we can easily see shipments and statuses, like you mentioned as well, or the workflows that need to be looked into by alerts that the TMS creates, which is awesome. So you don't. So like I know back in the day, it's almost like you had to physically go through each record and figure out if it needs to be, called on or whatnot. So it makes it so much easier by completely automating that process. And we can also set up customer accounts to email out tracking updates or reports that are based on their wants and needs, that can go out to them at specific times. And I know sometimes, typically it's not like picking up and delivering the same day. But whatever they need, if it's something that's going to go, be a couple days or whatever. And then again, this also frees up our time, the people that are working on this within the company. And it also allows us to better handle customer service on the back end as well. So, because I know even before Ty, that was kind of an issue that we had where you're trying to get the information and you had to go to a website. Like none of this was in the Blue Gray system as easy as it is in Ty. And it just caused a lot more work on our people's end. So again, I can't talk enough, good things about Ty and just the efficiencies and integration and like what it's really made. Because again, on the LTL, just to go back to the first thing you were talking about, Samantha, just the fact of the time that, it takes to get through some of this stuff. And LTL was created out of the needs of our intermodal customers, and it was a value add. And to be quite honest, like you just can't touch it. Like you have to really make that so automated that you're really just dealing with exceptions. Yeah. So anyways, we're very happy.
Yes. I fully agree with that. Automating it and then exception management should be the goal. I feel very strongly about that too for the full truckload space. Like if we were able to automate as much as is possible, reasonably possible to automate, and then focus more on like that exception management, then I think that's the goal, right? Like track and trace tracking. A lot of those are not like, it's not an exception. It happens every time. Like we have to track and we have to get these updates. So if you can figure out a way to automate that through the use of one of your tools, then like that's what you do, right? To prevent having to do that. Will exceptions happen? Will something not track correctly or show a wrong set? Yes. And then that's where your people are empowered to make those decisions, right? Well, ladies, we did that in 40 minits. So that was pretty good. I was thinking like maybe 45 minutes and we're going to be just close to that. So I do I'll kind of wrap this up and just say that I know that you guys are both very, very experienced, very educated in your fields. Like you are also both very easy to talk to. And so I'm sure if there's someone listening who has questions about what your experiences have been within Ty TMS, with any of your other tools, or just in general, as you guys are going through both pretty steady and rapid growth, that sometimes comes with growing pains and challenges that you have to tackle. And so I'm sure you guys would be a great resource for people if they wanted to reach out. So I'm going to ask you guys what the best way for people to connect with you would be, if you don't mind sharing. Kristy, we'll start with you.
Absolutely. I am on LinkedIn, and you can also email me at knichel@knichellogistics.com. I'd be happy to talk to anyone.
Awesome. Tami?
I am also on LinkedIn, Tami Gordy, and I would ask you not to email me. Get a hold of me on LinkedIn. You're gonna have a lot of. It helps me to silo a little bit more.
You're like, that's gonna go into the I'll get to that when I have a second inbox.
That's gonna get flagged admin, and so I would like to be able to focus my attention whenever you're talking. I really am looking to build a larger peer-to-peer network, because I feel like, as logistics providers and the logistics managers, that peer-to-peer networking is just so invaluable. Even though we are competitors, we also do have a lot of information that we can share and grow the logistics community as a whole. So, but yeah, LinkedIn is the best way to get in touch with me.
Well, that's great. And my name is Samantha Jones. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, I am also on LinkedIn at Samantha Jones. The podcast is on LinkedIn live every other Tuesday morning at 9:30. And then we have these amazing special edition episodes that pop up from time to time. I am also an open resource for anyone who has more questions about Tide TMS and my partnership with them. I'm happy to give honest feedback and give recommendations there. And then I also love to network. So please make sure that you connect with me and both of these ladies. And I'm so grateful that you guys were able to come on. We are actually recording this in the morning, so I can say, thank you guys for meeting me for coffee. And but we drink coffee all day here in this industry. So it's actually applicable anytime. Didn't let me down. Yes. Well, thank you both so much for being on today. It was a pleasure to have you. And for anyone who is listening, thank you so much for meeting us for coffee today.